Welcome into Winnipeg Sports Talk. My name is Hrabchak, and today we're going to be taking a look at 5 potential trade options for the Winnipeg Jets as we inch closer and closer to the March 8th trade deadline. With these 5 players, we're going to be analyzing their fit with the current roster makeup of the Jets, how much it would cost to acquire them, and whether or not the Jets would even have them on their radar. So let's get right into it. Here are 5 potential trade options over the next month and a bit for the Winnipeg Jets. Starting off with the number 1 player on almost every single trade board, and that is Calgary Flames center Elias Lindholm. He's a right-hand shot. He would fill that second-line center role, which is a clear need for the Winnipeg Jets at the trade deadline. And throughout his career, he's been a two-way center. His analytics have taken a bit of a dip this year, and we'll get into that in a second with what his value might be on the open market. But Elias Lindholm, he's great in the face-off circle. We know that's a priority for Rick Bowness, and he fills a clear need at second-line center for the Winnipeg Jets. Last offseason, there were reports that Elias Lindholm was looking for $9 million with a contract extension, and there were reports even earlier this season that if the Flames were to trade Lindholm, they were looking for 2 first-round picks and a prospect in return. It's safe to say that both of those prices have come down. Elias Lindholm having a bit of a down year, 32 points in 49 games, only 9 goals. His analytics have taken a dive as well. I know his expected goals percentage, his high danger chances for when he's on the ice, and his Corsi percentage are all well below 50%, which in years past he's been a dominant two-way center. Those have all been well above 50%. So a weird analytical turn in a contract year for Lindholm. Usually you see players outperform their expectations in contract years. Lindholm going the other way. He would be a rental for the Winnipeg Jets. 1 year left at $4.8 million. Easy to fit under the cap. The Jets have roughly that much in cap space that they could use at the deadline. Would the Flames have to retain a little bit of money? Maybe you might see some money go out. But Elias Lindholm should definitely be on the Jets' radar as the number 1 trade target in the NHL. And The Athletic actually recently released an article analyzing some potential trade offers and destinations for Elias Lindholm, and Winnipeg made the list, and this was the offer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Elias Lindholm comes to Winnipeg in exchange for a 2024 first-round pick, Chaz Lucius, and Mason Appleton from the Winnipeg Jets. Chaz Lucius having some injury issues, but the talent is clearly there. Maybe a B+ prospect. And then Mason Appleton, we know he's a bottom 6 winger. That would make the money work. And then the Jets' first-round pick should absolutely be on the table this year, given where they are in the standings. Let me know what you think of this offer. I think Winnipeg should take this if this were a true offer. Obviously, it's just a mock-up, but that's the perceived value for Elias Lindholm, and the Jets should be all over him at that price. Number 2 on the list, let's stick with the Calgary Flames. This guy's in the top 5 of almost every trade board as well, and that is Chris Tanev, a right-shot defenseman, and this guy would fit Rick Bowness's system perfectly. Not an offensive player by any means. If you're taking a look at his stats right here, 1 goal, 8 assists, and 9 points on the season. But I'm sure you've seen a ton of clips on social media. Chris Tanev putting his body on the line to block shots. Rick Bowness would absolutely love to have that in his lineup. And Chris Tanev actually brought up Bowness's name in a recent interview with Scott Oak on After Hours. He brought up Bowness, saying he was one of the best coaches he had when he was young as a mentor. Really taught him the art of shot blocking. And you know Rick Bowness would love to have a guy like this on his team. A defensive guy, shot blocker, would help the penalty kill. And he's a right-hand shot. Would he play with Josh Morrissey? Would he play with a Brendan Dillon? He'd definitely be in the Jets' top 4, and they would further improve their defensive analytics that are already league best. You don't have to worry about Chris Tanev fitting in Winnipeg. The Jets are fresh off of going 34 straight games, allowing 3 goals or less, and Chris Tanev, one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. He should absolutely be on the Jets' radar, as he fits a clear need in the top 4 right side on the D-core. Chris Tanev, another trade option for the Winnipeg Jets. Before we get into the next potential trade target for the Winnipeg Jets, make sure to subscribe to Winnipeg Sports Talk down below. While you're down there, drop a like on the video, drop a comment. Who would you like to see the Winnipeg Jets target as we near the trade deadline? Let's get into the next name on the list. The next name I want to talk about is Casey Mittelstadt from the Buffalo Sabres. He's my favorite name out there that's been kind of floated around as a potential fit for the Jets at that second line center spot. He's 25 years old. He's having a great season on a bad Buffalo team. You can look at the stats here: 12 goals, 30 assists, and 42 points in 49 games. He's got 1 year left on his contract, but he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, so the Jets would be able to re-sign him or trade him. They would retain his rights, but Mittelstadt makes sense for a ton of reasons. One, he would play in between Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers on the second or third line, whatever you want to call it, for Winnipeg. That would be an incredibly skilled line. They'd be able to fill the back of the net. and he's not even a rental. He'd be a bit of an extended rental. The Jets are going to be able to return most of this group, this current core, next year for another run, and Casey Mittelstadt would be around for that, as the Jets would retain his rights as he is an RFA. Much like a potential acquisition with Elias Lindholm, acquiring Mittelstadt would push Vlad Namestnikov down to the fourth line for the Winnipeg Jets and give them center depth that can stack up with some of the best in the Western Conference heading into the playoffs. That would be Scheifele, Adam Lowry, Casey Mittelstadt, and Vlad Namestnikov. Mittelstadt, more of a skilled player, in between Perfetti and Ehlers. I like the fit. Not sure if he's really available. He's not popping up around trade boards, but the Buffalo Sabres, a team on the outside looking in, might be looking up to shake their core. The Jets should absolutely be keeping an eye on Casey Mittelstadt's name to fill that 2C role over the next month and a bit. The next name I want to bring up is Jakob Chychrun, defenseman on the Ottawa Senators. In 45 games this year, he's got 8 goals, 20 assists, and 28 points. He's a puck mover, an offensive defenseman type, and there's another need there in the top 4 for the Winnipeg Jets, another puck mover alongside Morrissey. And Chychrun, much like Mittelstadt, wouldn't be just this season. He's got 2 years left at a manageable $4.6 million cap hit, and he would play top 4 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets and immediately improve not only their 5-on-5 and their ability to move the puck up ice, but even their power play. One of his best abilities is his slap shot, his ability to get pucks through from the point. He's got 8 goals on the year. Jakob Chychrun would be able to jump up in the rush and help the Jets' 5-on-5 offense and even help the power play a little bit, all from the back end. Rick Bowness likes his defenseman activating, and Jakob Chychrun can absolutely do that. Another thing to note with Chychrun here is the Ottawa Senators just traded for him at last year's trade deadline. They traded a first-round pick and 2 second-rounders and got him for the full 3 years of his contract. Now, they might be looking to move him again, flip him for more assets. The price would be a little bit lower than that. He's a year older. The contract, you got a year less of it. So you'd potentially be looking at still giving up a first-round pick, but instead of 2 seconds, maybe a B to B plus prospect gets the job done. And again, you have 2 years of a top 4 defenseman. He'd be a solid number 3, solid number 4 on the Winnipeg Jets. A puck mover would help the power play. Jakob Chychrun, the Jets should definitely keep an eye on him heading into the trade deadline. The last name I want to talk about on this list is Adam Henrique of the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks, a bad team, but Adam Henrique is putting up good offensive numbers. 48 games played, 15 goals, 17 assists, and 32 points. His contract does expire at the end of the year. This would be a pure rental, unlike a Mittelstadt or a Chychrun on the blue line. But Henrique, 15 goals would bring third on the Winnipeg Jets behind Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers. He would add a scoring punch onto that second line with Perfetti and Ehlers, much like Mittelstadt. But a veteran presence, it would cost less than Mittelstadt. One of the biggest reasons why I think the Winnipeg Jets should have Adam Henrique on their radar, along with the other centers that I mentioned in this video, is because it would result in more 5-on-5 ice time for Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers. You put a veteran in between those two, a 33-year-old who can fill the net. Maybe Rick Bowness will trust them more in the defensive zone, in the offensive zone. And Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers, we know they're 2 of the most productive Jets wingers when they do get the ice time. It's just there's games where they fall behind, they don't necessarily get the ice time. But sticking an Adam Henrique or an Elias Lindholm or maybe even a Casey Mittelstadt in between those two might give Rick Bowness more trust in that line to start them in any situation, and that would result in more offense for the Winnipeg Jets. Not only that, but it would also push Vlad Namestnikov down to the 4th line, and that would give them much better center depth heading into the playoffs. Adam Henrique's one of my favorite secondary options for second line center. He should absolutely be on the Jets' radar, as the Ducks likely sellers heading into the trade deadline. And if you're taking a look at his contract there, he's got 1 year left. This would be a pure rental, $5.825 million. There would have to be some serious salary retention on that. The Jets can't fit that contract as is, and they would likely add on top of Henrique if he was the second line center addition. So they would have to get 50%, maybe even broker the contract through a third team to bring that salary cap number down for the playoffs. But regardless, Adam Henrique, one of the better secondary center options on the market that's popping up on trade boards around the NHL. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Like I said before, if you enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up below. Make sure you're subscribed, hitting the notification bell so you don't miss videos like this from Winnipeg Sports Talk in the future. And drop a comment. Who do you want to see the Winnipeg Jets target? Maybe who's the favorite name of yours on this list? And who's an off-the-board name that I didn't mention that you'll want to see the Jets target come March 8th at the trade deadline. Until then, make sure you check out Huss and Remus live every day, 1 o'clock Central on YouTube. Thank you everyone for checking out the video, and I will see you next time.